Peace, God.
Hey, Dad. He's so good.
Hey, man, I got you a new book.
A new book?
Check it out. Check it out. Let me know how you like it. I'll be back. Man, this Bitcoin, this Ethereum ain't doing nothing for me right now, man. Gotta find some new investments.
Peace, God. What you doing?
Peace, God. Good.
I think this book is kind of inappropriate.
Inappropriate? What's up with it?
It's inappropriate because look at these.
LGBT. Oh, man, I'm sorry about that, God.
I accept your apology.
Man, it's a shame, man. You can't even find no decent books for you nowadays without having to have these difficult conversations.
I have an idea. Maybe we should make a series of our own book.
A book series? That is a good idea.
7 volumes.
7, I get it. 7 volumes. What should we call it?
7 the Super Hey Rule.
Perfect. 7 the Super Hey Rule.
And then maybe we could even make some bundles of it once we get to volume 3.
Oh, see, now you're thinking like a businessman. I like that idea, man. A foundational Black American children's series.
Perfect.
Visit www.godcastbooks.com and pre-order your book today.
Peace. This is the Black Dot, father, author, writer, poet, MC, one half of the dynamic duo, the #1 father and son podcast, Urban X TV. I am super excited about the new release, The Master's Table, by Sincere Love the God and RP Beats. This album is going to be crazy. It's the follow-up to The Spear and The Shield. Already know what time it is. It's got some dope pieces on it. You're going to love it. Also on the album is yours truly, The Black Dot. So you want to go to The Masters RSVP and secure your copy now. They got a bundle package. You get a backdrop, you get a poster, you get the digital download, you get the physical copy, you get a hoodie. The whole process is really crazy. So RSVP to Masters RSVP, and you can get that dope album, My Sincere Love to God and RP Beats, The Master's Table. You will never be disappointed at how dope this project is going to be. Peace.
Have a seat at the master's table. We ain't asked for no seat. We went and built up our own. You see, it's rather stable. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears. You know the rest. Look, listen, and observe, but also respect. In God we trust. It's obvious. The money ain't the root of all evil, but lack thereof. That's why they deprive you of resources. Why they focus on streams of income, at least 3 sources. We certified, we solidified. And they say they created hip-hop, but all that shit is lies. Cause every element came before the development of what we callin' hip-hop now. It's all relevant to all the topics we gon' touch on. Spoiler alert, as you play this album, ain't no club songs. Boy, that hurt, but this ain't no conscious album. It's just that real shit, that Black God mantra album. I hope y'all feel this. Yeah, like that. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen.
All right,
There
there we
you
go.
are. We're over here. I'm looking down. What's
There we
good?
go. You already know, once you hear, let's see what's in the God's mind. That's like
That's it.
action.
That's
Lights, camera, action.
action.
We are here, family. We are here. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. I am the God, Sincere Love, here on another Sunday afternoon with my lovely co-host, Nicety Girl. Peace to the family. What's going on with y'all?
Peace. It's hot.
Yes, it is.
I'm on the West Coast. I know it's hot in Atlanta too. It's hot, y'all. It's hot. It's just.
Yes,
But I
is.
love it. I'm going to the lake tomorrow, to get out and enjoy the weather. So I plan on going to the lake in the morning around 10, and we're going to lay out tomorrow, getting in some water, enjoy this good old free vitamin D. So
Yes.
yeah, I have plans for it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'll be traveling tomorrow, headed to New York.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Headed to New York. I got family reunion next weekend. But me and RP, we got Sirius XM Shea 45 radio show coming up this week with Rappers Out of Control. Shout out to DJ Ease, DJ Riz. They're gonna be having us on. Well, actually, the show airs on Sunday, but we're gonna be taping it on Wednesday, I think. Yeah, Wednesday.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to y'all. Well deserved. Are they going to be playing some of the album, or will you guys just be chopping it up?
I'm pretty sure they're gonna play some of the records. They've been supporting us since day one. They be playing our stuff. They actually got DJ Premier to play some of our stuff on his show even. So they've been showing us love for a minute.
Shout out to them. Definitely. To them. I'm excited for y'all.
Yeah. It's gonna be good. And so make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all share this out on your social media platforms as y'all coming in the room. Let everybody know that we are live right now on Sincere Love the Godcast. And we are going to be chopping it up with Dr. Rolling. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him in just a second. But it's going to be a great show today. So you definitely want to let everybody know that we are live right now so that they can tune in. If you guys are watching this on the replay, make sure you leave some feedback in the comment section as well. Let us know what you think about today's show. If you're watching us on another platform, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, make sure you head on over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and click the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes of Sincere Love the Godcast. Any announcements before we get started?
Yes, I actually would like to make an announcement or so. So yesterday I did go to Leimert Park. That's here in LA, of course. Those in LA know about it. But I went to go visit our sister Honey Queen. It was her 2-year anniversary of having her storefront. And I waited till like 6 or so to go. And she closes at 7. But I was like, I'm going to surprise her. I want to surprise her for her 2-year. Get there, she's closed. So I hit her up. I'm like, sis, where you at? I'm in front of your store right now. She was like, I sold out. And so I just closed down early because I sold out. I was like, well, shoot, that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So I plan to go see her this coming week just to, show her some love, of course, and support her. But I also wanted to talk about an event that she's going to be having on August 5th. And it is going to be at the Hidden History Museum here in LA, and it's called Sipping and Tripping. And so basically it's going to be, it says we're sipping and tripping while uplifting commerce. Honey Queen Juice Bar is celebrating our 2-year anniversary. We're raising funds for underserved businesses, spotlighting the underdog, and providing opportunities for young entrepreneurs. Our goal is to celebrate the tenacity of business and creating networking opportunities while bringing joy and laughter to the community, all for a good cause. So if you guys are following her on Honey Queen Juice Bar here on Instagram, there's a link on her page for the invite. You can get your tickets. They're $25. Again, the event is going to be August 5th. Great cause. Again, this is to help support small, businesses, Black businesses specifically here in LA and abroad. So make sure you guys are supporting that. Support her if you're in LA and you can come, or if you're going to be in LA on August 5th, it's a way to come in, support her. And also, if you have not visited the Hidden History Museum, it's another way for you to do that as well.
Nice. That's what's up. Shout out to the Honey Queen. She Godcast alumni.
Yes.
That's family right there.
One more announcement.
Go ahead.
I have another announcement, y'all. This is also a Godcast alumni. So this is going to be Jamal Walker from the Cleanup Man. He has another page that you guys can also follow called Coach Ali Bay. And this one is him doing coaching, business coaching, personal development coaching, and things of that nature. He's actually going to be giving my teenage son, some personal development and coaching starting next week. And I'm super excited about that. So anyone out there, especially in the LA area, because he's based here, that needs some personal, development coaching, business coaching, mentorship, etc., make sure you reach out to our brother Jamal at Coach Ali Bay on Instagram, or you can follow him on the Cleanup Man as well. So I just wanted to shout those two alumni out.
Nice. And shout out to everybody joining us in the chat. We see y'all, Nikki the God, Mama Love.
Hey, sis. Mama Love.
Crew Royalty, Virgo Venom in the building. Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all do all of the YouTube stuff. And so let me let y'all know a little bit about our guest today before we bring them on the set. So today we are joined by Dr. Lane Rowling, MD. Dr. Lane Rowling, MD is a well-known infectious disease expert, a trauma surgeon, and a military veteran. Dr. Rowling is a certified chemical and biological warfare expert who is dedicated to saving lives and eradicating the C-19, and is also a member of the C-19 Healthcare Task Force of the Congressional Black Caucus. His mission is driven by his passion to change today's C-19 statistics to create a brighter tomorrow, especially for the African American community. And so without further ado, family, I would like to introduce to you our guest this afternoon, Dr. Rowling. Welcome to the Godcast, brother.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's doing super fantastic. Look forward to having a good talk and just get some good information out there to save people's lives.
Yes. You know what? Health is wealth. You know, not money, but health. It starts with the health. So, let's get it.
That is a fact. And so, Dr. Rowling, man, you have a gazillion credentials.
Yes.
I found the most brief bio that I could to do the intro. But give us some background about yourself and all the different areas of expertise for you.
Well, that's that's a good question. I've been asked that question probably about 1,000 times over the last 3 years, and I hate talking about myself because it almost becomes like it's like it's like bragging, but it's not bragging. The reality is that I've had a lot of experience in the world of infectious diseases for the last 30 plus years. I have several degrees. I have 6 degrees. I have a BS in microbiology and chemistry, a minor in military science, a master's in cellular molecular genetics, 2 medical degrees, 2 doctorate degrees, and I've been surgery programs in Hawaii, and I do infectious diseases around the world. And I think God put me in a position to be able to, at this moment in time, I never knew that a pandemic was going to happen. I was going to be on a world stage and saving people's lives, even though the last 25 years I've been in the jungles of Peru, working in the hot zones.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. And so, yeah, man, what all of these credentials, all of the degrees that you have, your in the field experience, like you said, out there in the jungles, worked in hospitals, all of the different stuff, all of the stuff that you have. And I remember seeing you on various platforms during the height of everything. And it was like, at first, everybody's proud to introduce you because you have all of these credentials. And then once you start talking and giving your perspective, based on those credentials, then all of a sudden people start telling us we shouldn't be listening to you and we shouldn't be So that's a weird dichotomy right there. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, this is the reality, like I've said before. A lot of people jumped into the lanes of infectious diseases and microbiology. They had no credentials at all. I mean, we can start from Roland Martin's a prime example. Somebody pushed.
Lord.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
Roland Martin's a person is what I call a fat cat. Guys, in that league with Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, really pimping Black America into a certain direction, and that direction was wrong because at the end of the day, he doesn't have the qualifications, or even the people he had on this platform to have that qualification trying to sell a bill of goods. And I liken it to the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. But the reality is that there are guys out there like myself that are actually have done this stuff real time, with biological warfare, teaching virology in the jungles, in the hot zone. Like I've always said, I've never seen any of these guys in the environment I've been, and I was just in Peru just a week ago dealing with a hot zone with dengue, with babies that were, 3 days old with dengue and pregnant females with dengue, actually taking care of patients that actually have these diseases. So to me, it was actually absolutely a joke that they have people on there trying to discredit me. And at the end of the day, I'm right, they're wrong. Now you can't find them. I call them the cockroach syndrome. You turn on the light and they're all gone.
I was just going to say that. Notice how quiet all of them are suddenly. No one is talking anymore.
Well, and that's the sad thing about it, because the reality is we're starting to find out the true science of it. And, and no matter how much censoring they've done, on the Instagram platform, YouTube, striking down, now we're finding out because the attorney generals of Missouri and also Louisiana sued Fauci and the government, and you find out that Fauci does a deposition. All of a sudden, this guy got 175. I don't recall. All of a sudden, he's dumb. Fair, because if you're going to go down this lane and you're going to have skin in the game, you own it. And that's the sad thing about it, because now we're seeing all the consequences, both good and bad, where people have been injured, people's lives have been changed. You can't shake this stuff up. I'm on the Black AIDS Institute. I'm the chief science officer for the Black AIDS Institute, which is the largest AIDS institution in the world for blacks, period. And I'm about to write a paper for the Black AIDS Institution talking about HIV men are dropping dead now from clots, period. And these guys are the most vaccinated people on the planet. They're and dying just like that. So this clot phenomenon, this is not something just popped out of the air. This is a reality. And the reality is that the information is going to get out. And at the end of the day, the reality is we have to have information out there that people trust and believe in. And at the end of the day, it comes right down to the science. The science doesn't lie. I teach this stuff. I'm a professor. I'm not changing my exam because of Fauci. I'm damn sure changing my exam for Roland Martin. I would flunk him out of my class. Doesn't have that capability. That's just the reality. And the reality is that the science is a science, the virus is a virus, it's an RNA virus. And I've talked about that since day one. And you guys have seen me from MSNBC, Black News Channel. I've been very, very consistent in what I said then, now, and in the future, because the reality is that, like I told you before, let's like I said on Rizzy's show, you guys are going to have 1,000 booster shots, period, for the next 500 years. And that tells you that the vaccine platform that they use doesn't work. If it did work, why would you keep having these new boosters where the reality, the virus is mutated? And at the end of the day, we have to save Black people's lives. And that's the reality, because at the end of the day, we're always the expendable people. And if you believe the government, just go back and look at what they did with the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, where babies are coming out missing brains, and they affected Black men with syphilis, and they studied us like animals. So you always have to have both sides of the equation. And once somebody starts telling you how good it is, you better make sure that Kool-Aid doesn't have any sugar in it.
Right. I remember the start of the pandemic, when we started to hear the name C-19, there wasn't any Black people getting it initially. It took a while for us to, get infected by it. Why is that?
Well, the reality is that the government had no idea what they were dealing with. We knew as guys in the field. I saw it coming, almost 6 months before it even got to you guys, the mainstream people. And at the end of the day, it's a virus. You can have all the F-16 fighter planes and bombs. You're not going to change what a virus is going to do. It's the coronavirus. This virus has been around for 20,000+ years. It changes all the time. The first case was like in 1958 when we had the technology discovered. It's a virus that its nature is to affect people, and it's an RNA virus. And so the reality is that what's happening now is that at the beginning, it was a virus that got out of control. And then one of the things that they were trying to dictate the message that Black people were the cause of this, because we weren't getting vaccinated. But they didn't understand, like David Chappelle said, we knew what the reality was. Then they started getting people out there pushing this thing, and all of a sudden you look at television. I've never seen so many Black nurses and doctors and in my life, and on commercials, and telling you to get this shot and get that shot. And the first drug you ever see in the world where there is no warnings about this at all. You can have an arthritis medication on watching a basketball game. They don't tell you, hey, if you have a rash, if you get a cold, this is the only perfect vaccine medicine in the world, which is an absolute lie.
A whole lot. And could you explain for us what RNA is?
Well, when we look at RNA is a genetic material of an individual entity. We have two types of genetics. We have DNA, which is the information. RNA is a message. Well, when we look at the message is part of the genetic profile of individual virus or bacteria. But when it comes to viruses are usually in two categories: DNA viruses and RNA viruses. At the end of the day, the simple thing for you guys to understand is that the RNA viruses have a very high rate of mutation, where they're always mutating. That's where there is no vaccine, there is no treatment for Ebola. And I can go down all the RNA virus, but RNA viruses by definition is what we call ribonucleic acid. It is the message of the genetic material of a particular entity. In this particular coronavirus is an RNA virus, and that's how we classify it.
Gotcha.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Listen, I don't even think we've been talking 10 minutes yet. It's already steaming hot in here.
Right. Let me look at the chat. Let me look at the
Boiling
chat.
hot in here, man. Family, as y'all know, for the family that's listening, as y'all know, this is a sensitive topic, and so we got to do our best to codify the language. But you guys know what we're talking about and what we're getting at when we're having these conversations. And so, yeah.
Well, the reality is that this is a sad thing about it when it comes down to this thing about misinformation and disinformation. The government is probably the biggest disinformation in the world. We can go talk about all the historical things that have happened to people. And this particular thing, when we look at this virus is a game changer. Like I said, 3 years ago, like I said today, your life is never going to be the same. This coronavirus is what we call endemic now, which means that it's going to be here for the next 3,000 years. You guys going to have to deal with this virus, not just on a seasonal basis, i.e. like the flu, influenzas in September, October, November. You have to deal with this virus all the time. It doesn't care about the weather. It doesn't care about what time of the year is. You still have the possibility of being affected. And the sad thing about it is that the reality is that people need to still have some type of awareness of their situation. I.e., if you're immunocompromised or you're somebody that has HIV or chemotherapy or some type of autoimmune disease and your immune system is depressed, you're somebody that really needs to be careful still using the basic biosafety protocols because you can get infected. I.e., you go to Walmart on payday and there's 3,000 people there coughing and hacking, you better wear a mask. If you're in the fruit market of the store and you're getting some bananas or squeezing or getting peaches or strawberries, you better make sure you wash that stuff. If you're touching the cart at the store, you better make sure you sterilize that cart because you're going to be infected. Or even at the gas station where you grab the pump at the gas station, you got to make sure you protect your hands because at the end of the day, the coronavirus has changed everything that we see now in medicine, and it's always going to be something that we always have to think about. And people are still dying every day from the coronavirus, but you're just not hearing about it because the government and the society has kind of turned it off, and they try to pivot more to like Ukraine versus what's happening here in the United States.
I was just going to say that last time I heard the Biden administration said in May, they had a specific date. There's no more coronavirus or we don't have to take the necessary precautions that we were taking before, such as wearing masks, like you said, et cetera. But it was just specifically in May. It's over. We're back to normal. So you're saying to normal.
Well,
hold on a second, Doc. But you're saying if you're immunocompromised, those protocols are valid. You should be wearing a mask. Right. You should be wiping things down and all of that.
Sincere, absolutely 100%. I'm here to save people's lives. I mean, people go to my profile. You know where I was last week. I was in the NIC unit in Peru in the hot zone doing a Department of Defense project for dengue. If I'm doing contracts and projects and research for the Department of Defense, I've been vetted. I know what I'm talking about. And that's just the bottom line at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if you're immunocompromised, i.e. you still need to take precaution because you can be infected with COVID. And what makes COVID in itself the ultimate, what I call the ultimate parasite, it has the ability to affect every cell in your body, from your eyeballs down to your toes, your skin. It can affect your heart, your kidneys, your eyes, your brain, dementia. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this virus doesn't just have the ability to just affect one particular organ in your body, it can affect all organs. So if you're already immunocompromised, i.e. you're HIV positive, well, you better be careful, i.e. if you have chemotherapy or you have a heart transplant, you need to be careful because this virus is still here. It's something that people need to be aware of. i.e. with all the other diseases that we're seeing now. This is a disease that still needs to be on the forefront. You don't need to be scared of it if you understand what you're dealing with. If you understand that the virus is transmitted through air, it's transmitted through feces, it's transmitted through people's secretions and stuff, is very important. That is why it's so important nowadays. Even though you're not hearing about it, it still affects people, and it affects people in a big way. And just like I was just over in Panama a week ago, I was in Peru a week ago, I see the whole world is changed. And at the end of the day, the SARS-CoV virus is still out there and still has the ability to cause devastation to a society.
Wow.
So during the height of the situation, the global situation, when everybody was on lockdown over here and all of that, there were certain parts of the world, places like Switzerland, and even here in Georgia, we were the last ones to lock down, the first ones to open back up. People were kind of going about their day-to-day lives kind of normally, and we weren't seeing the numbers outrageous in some of these other places. So what do you say? Because people look at situations like that and they say, oh, this is nothing for us to really worry about. It's not really a big deal. What do you say to that?
Well, it is something to worry about. At the end of the day, what we're trying to get, folks, and people have to realize that, I've had the opportunity to be on the world stage, period. I mean, I've been nominated Global Humanitarian in the World. I wrote the vaccine platform for the Vatican. So if I can do that, I think I know what I'm talking about. And one of the things that we've always tried to talk about, and even in the beginning, is that word called herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Well, herd immunity means you try to get 90% of a population to have some type of immunity to whatever disease it is. Doesn't matter if it's polio, measles, whatever. We're trying to get 90% of that immunity to a population for protection, i.e. you can get it through a natural infection, wildfire, the virus goes to the population, everybody gets immunity, or you do a vaccination program. Well, at the end of the day, the reality is that why some of these countries were left open, because at the end of the day, natural immunity is what's going to outweigh everything. You can inject anybody all day long. At the end of the day, your natural immunity is going to take you to where you need to go. And the reality, when you read the Pfizer's research paper, and I told you guys this 3 years ago before they was in the vaccine, that their vaccine, if you got injected, the most it's going to last is 81 days, period. And then you have to get a booster shot to get reinfected, get your immunity back up again, a booster shot versus natural immunity. And now all the scientific articles out there are telling people, if you get infected, you're going to have natural immunity up to 6 months to 9 months of protection, period. In fact, your natural immunity is better than the vaccine, which makes sense. And let me explain this very carefully so everybody can understand what I mean versus natural immunity versus a vaccine-induced immunity. What Pfizer did, they took one portion of the virus, the spike protein. They made it into a vaccine. They inject you in it. Your body sees that spike protein. It says the letter A. It's the spike protein. Your body's going to make antibodies to the letter A. That is it. So guess what happens if that virus mutates that spike protein? You can't see the letter A anymore. Ball game over. It's a zero-sum game. You are done. You have to come up with another vaccine, or you're just going to go back to natural immunity versus somebody that gets infected, like I get infected with the virus, the virus A. Well, my body sees the whole entire virus. It makes antibodies not just to the spike protein. It makes antibodies to the core nucleus. It makes to the cell membrane. It is more antibody protection versus one single particular area you're targeting. That's why it's a zero-sum game. And that's why we've always said you never, ever do a vaccine program in the middle of a pandemic, because how do you know? Because somebody might be infected, full-blown infected with the virus. You inject them with a vaccine, that virus sees that vaccine, and guess what it's going to do? Evolution. It's going to mutate. It's going to change. That virus wants to live. It's going to change. And that is the problem that we have. And that's where we made the biggest mistake in the history of mankind, trying to induce something when you can't induce something on something that's mutated like the RNA virus, coronavirus does.
And also, they never talked about side effects to, getting the vaccine either. We've never heard any, most medications, even when you see it on a commercial, this is for a migraine. but may cause XYZ, right? We've never heard what this vaccine may cause in the event that you do get it. Is that by design as well?
Yeah, it is, because that's just common sense type of stuff. Every medicine has a complication, but this is the first medication I've ever seen in my life that doesn't have no side effects. But in reality, we know this thing has thousands of side effects, from everything from Guillain-Barré syndrome to Bell's palsy to kids having infarction at 18 years of age, young people. Now we have the big phenomena that we believe, and I've talked about this before. And I want all your audience to go out there and I'm an academic guy. I'm a professor. I want you to I'm going to give you the information, the right information. You go look it up yourself. But there's a thing called antibody-dependent enhancement. What happens? Well, if you got an endemic virus like we have with the coronavirus, and everybody's being affected, and you inject somebody with a vaccine, you make more antibodies that's going to attack yourself. And it almost becomes like an autoimmune disease that your body starts attacking yourself. And that's probably one of the biggest things in this vaccine thing is antibody-dependent enhancement. We're creating the problems because the vaccines are making our bodies attack our platelets, attack our hearts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is not about this is based off of science. This is the reality. And so this is the biggest thing that we have to understand, because you have people out there that have true long-term COVID complications. They have dementia, they have fatigue, they have chronic fatigue syndrome, they have heart problems, they have a whole list of things. Women are having menstrual problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the reality, and do not let any doctor out there tell you that that you got some psychological problem, because you actually have a physical problem that's been induced by the virus or the vaccine itself.
Yes, indeed. And so going back to some of your critics and naysayers that were out there, I seen one semi-debate that you were having with a brother named Dr. Corey Hebert.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he was saying was that whole 7-year study thing is outdated. It should never take 7 years for us to know whether, the jab is effective or not, or whether it's safe or not. We should be able to do it much quicker than that, was his opinion. What do you say to that?
Well, that's why he needed to take my class, and I need to certify him. He needs to take my virology course because he doesn't have the qualifications to talk that. And at the end of the day, you won't find him because he was absolutely wrong. People still dying from people are dying. And his prognosis was absolutely incorrect. And I was waiting for us to do a second debate, because I would have killed him then, because on the information, because the data was coming out. Man, what world are you living in at the end of the day? Because your vaccine, people still got sick, people still died. Then we went from the alpha strain, the beta strain, the delta strain, the gamma strain, the lambda strain, into the Omicron family. What school did you go to is what I say. And he damn sure didn't get certified with me and taking my virology course, period.
So do you think some of these doctors and scientists that they were throwing out there to push this narrative, do you think that they were just lying, or are they just misinformed?
I think they were getting paid. At the end of the day, they were making money, because nobody does anything for free. And they were making money off there pushing a certain narrative. And that's why when you look at the situation now, because at the end of the day, the science is going to tell you what's going to happen. The reality is going to tell you. The truth always comes out. It might be 20 years now, but the reality is going to come out, and you can't find not one of them guys on any platforms talking about this stuff, because they look like idiots. Because you'll look at them and go, well, what were you talking about, Dr. Herbert? You said you were part of the vaccine program, so you're going to tell me that you guys have got technology down to you can make a vaccine in 1 year, right? Well, why don't you have a vaccine for Ebola and all these other? And the reality is you can't do it. It's impossible. It's the science, son. Like we say, like Forrest Gump says, as stupid is as a stupid does.
Stupid does.
All right, so I got to give you a little bit of pushback, or I got to ask some of the tough questions. You know what I'm saying? Just to be fair, because obviously, we're not doctors, we're not virologists or anything like that. This is obviously your area of expertise. But many of us, when all of this information is coming out, we don't know who to trust. We don't know what to believe, right? And so us here, especially me, we study white supremacy, you know what I'm saying, as a system. And so we know that they play a game of 4-dimensional chess. And one thing that they do, shout out to Neely Fuller, but like he says, white supremacy always takes both sides of an argument, or he'll say they take all sides of an argument. Sometimes there's multiple sides of an argument. And so some people might see a brother like you with all your credentials coming out here and you're saying things that we feel innately, that we kind of agree with what you're saying, but we still a little skeptical. I'm like, oh yeah, this brother, he's down with Congressional Black Caucus. They the ops. We don't really rock with them like that. And so what's his motivation here? How can we trust this guy? What do you say to people who are skeptical like that?
Well, I don't mean that's the sad thing about society now. And one of the things, when I came back to the States back in March of 2020, and I was asked to join a lot of these different communities because people kind of Googled me because me and my daughter did an interview, and nobody knew that Jordan Rowland's dad was a virologist, and it just kind of snowballed out of there, where people want to have me talk in their programs and be on their communities. But at the end of the day, the reality is that I've been doing this stuff for 30 plus years. I have no dog in this fight. I've seen the destruction of what diseases do from people, putting babies in body bags. You guys can go to my Instagram and see the babies that I take care of now that are crying and dying from dengue. My heart is just the way it is. I'm sorry. I'm a sucker for humanity. And I don't know why I like people, because people to me are a pain in the ass, because you're trying to do the good thing and everybody's looking to shoot things down. And I know for a fact I'm the most Googled individual on the planet. There's no fact. When I'm doing the Ralph Sampson MBA program for the MBA in Denver with Spencer Hayward and all these guys, and they're going, Dr. Rowan, you got 6 degrees. Fauci got 2. Well, Fauci's white, working for an institution for 47 years versus somebody, me, I'm the field Negro in the hot zone doing the real work, and they're taking claim to fame. I could do Fauci's job all day long if I had that type of budget. But at the end of the day, I'm what I am. I can't change it. The reality is that your action speaks louder than words. And if people really want to test me, like I've always said, get out the boat. I've invited Roland Martin. Come on down to the jungles, big boy. See how last. You be the one that want to get you. We got to pull you out the boat.
He ain't physically capable.
Yeah, period. That's a big difference. I had a young girl that was a week ago in the hospital with dengue. She's 14 years old, raped, dengue. We're trying to save the baby's life. You guys can see the video on there. Like I said, put your money where your mouth is. And I've called Roland Martin, bring your butt down to prove and help this girl out. Since you're supposed to be this big time, you're supposed to speak for people. Just make it happen. And so that's the end of the day. I'm what I am. I'm not going to sit up here and try to defend who I am. My record speaks for itself, and my life is what it is, and that's the way it is. I put it this way. I carry God's crosses for his children. That's my mission.
What is dengue?
Dengue is a virus, number one orbital virus in the planet that affects people worldwide. It's the number one transmitted mosquito disease. Dengue has been around for thousands of years. It's an RNA virus, causes people to bleed out, the whole 9 yards. But most people in the world are affected with diseases, this particular disease. And what we're trying to do now is that the disease is so prevalent, and we're getting ready for the next world mission, i.e., especially for the military, we're going to be probably end up with some type of confrontation with China. And we're going to be fighting in the jungles of Vietnam again. We're going to be fighting in Thailand, in these areas that are tropical. So we have to have instrumentation to be able to detect dengue more sensitive, to make sure that our soldiers and people are protected earlier, to be able to get treatment earlier. And so that's what dengue is. It's a very important disease like malaria, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And so some chick named Star says it spreads through mosquitoes. I've been seeing a lot of headlines recently about mosquitoes being used for germ warfare and bio warfare and things like that. Is there any validity to that? Because I usually don't see it in mainstream articles, but it's always like some alternative news outlet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility we can affect mosquitoes, but people need to realize mosquitoes are a very effective vector for transmitting diseases. They've been doing it since the dinosaur days. I mean, we can find DNA from dinosaurs in mosquitoes that have been, frozen in ice or are in the soil. The reality is that at the end of the day, that mosquitoes is one of the biggest transmitted diseases, and we need to be, as a country, and people need to be aware. Now you guys just found out what happened because of the immigration policy that the Biden administration had. Now we're seeing malaria in Texas. We're seeing malaria in Alabama. We're seeing all these diseases, dengue, because what's happened is that these people are infected with malaria. They're coming to the United States, and the mosquitoes that are able to propagate that disease are already here. These mosquito takes a blood bite meal off of one of these people coming across the border. They get infected with mosquitoes, and all the mosquitoes are infected. So we need to be very careful now as we go as a country, as the climate changes. Texas, the mosquitoes are going to start immigrating more and more up from Texas to Arkansas to New York to the whole entire country. So mosquito transmission is very, very important in understanding that they are a big time vector when it comes to transmission and diseases from elephantitis to dengue to Zika, and I can go down the line.
That's scary. Like, what do the people who are more at risk, the immunocompromised people, what do they do to prevent that? If you know.
Well, the reality is that you have to understand your environment. You have to understand what your municipality. I know I tell people I was born in 1908, so I've been around for a long, long time. And I remember as a kid, catching tadpoles in the creek, and you folks don't even know what a creek is. The trucks used to come and spray this mosquito stuff to fumigate the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys remember the trucks, but that's what they used to do when I was a kid to decrease the mosquito population. So now we have to make sure that we're still doing the things that we do to protect the society, i.e. making sure that you guys understand the municipality where you live at, the wastewater, because the wastewater determines if the population is healthy. And I've talked about this 1,000 times. If you really want to know how healthy our population is, measure your sewage viral content. And guess what, folks? I'm sorry, COVID is in every sewage in America. And the reality, if the virus is in the sewage, it means the population is infected. You got polio in the sewage, it means somebody in the population is affected with polio. And so to gauge our society on when we're going to get to the next side, like people said, Dr. Rowland, when we're going to get to the next side of it, when we look at the sewage, folks, in your municipality says there are no coronavirus in the sewage, that means, guess what, folks? You have the population healthy. But that is the gauge, and people that are immunocompromised, you need to understand your environment. Are you living in rural Alabama? Are you living in rural Louisiana? Do they have a mosquito repellent program, a fumigation program? What is your water? What are people doing? I.e., people are immunocompromised, living in rural areas, they have septic tanks. Is the septic tank leaking? Because the septic tanks leak, and you leak that, or you're leaking out coronavirus. You're leaking out diseases, and kids are playing in the grass. So these things are part of that public health phenomenon that we have to do. And just to add to what I was saying earlier, if you're going to have a vaccination program, and I've said this in day one, the folks out there that drunk that Kool-Aid, do you know what your protective antibody levels are? And I've been to the big churches in Arkansas, 1,000 people, black folks, man, lining up for Subways. And I asked them, hey, how many people know what your antibody levels is? And they all looking for potato chips. They don't know. You got to know what your antibody levels is. That's part of a vaccine program. You test the people, you find out what everybody's antibody levels is, and then you know you have protection. And if you do get the vaccine, you need to get your antibody levels measured 90 days later, 6 months later. Maybe they gave you the placebo. Do you know? Or they just told you to get this shot, Big Mama, get your sandwich, come back in 30 days, then we're going to give you another sandwich with some barbecue potato chips, and you Big Mama protected. But then Big Mama ends up in the hospital with COVID on a ventilator. What happened, folks? Simple science.
Right, and that's the rapid test that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, rapid test. People can do that we should have did. And one of the things we wrote the platform for the Vatican, when you do a vaccine program, you have to test the population. You got to know, period, who's infected, who's not. Maybe everybody has antibody protection and you don't have to do a booster shot or a vaccine program. So that's one of the big things. We can discuss this another time, but it is a point that people need to think about as you go down this lane. And I've said this 1,000 times. Look at all the programs I talked about from BNC, MSNBC. I tell you, do you know what your antibody levels is, or y'all just drunk the Kool-Aid?
They
What do you
drink the Kool-Aid.
what do you say to the folks who may have drunk a little bit of the Kool-Aid in the beginning? Like say they got the shot initially because they wanted to travel or they worry about their job or whatever the case may be, but then they didn't get the boosters after that. They didn't go through with that. Was that a smart decision, or should they have gone and did the whole booster thing and everything?
Well, I mean, the reality is that people were put in a very precarious position. Military guys people were, their job required them to get that job. I would go ahead and sue the hell out of every one of them, especially if my mom or somebody had a complication, because the problem is that in medicine, we have a thing that everybody needs that use that famous word. And I just did a vaccine program taken, down in Peru just a week ago and getting blood samples from patients. There's a word there, everybody, informed consent. You have to sign up for it. You have to be informed. When I operate on somebody, you can lose your life, you can die, you can get a scar. Do you understand the risk, all that stuff? And I'm pretty sure that you guys that ran down there and drunk that Kool-Aid to get your Subway sandwich, there was nobody sitting down there giving you a 5-minute lecture on what could possibly happen. They just next. So the word that people need to understand is informed consent. And if your employee says something to you about that and you got sick, please call me, sue them. You're going to win $1 million, period. There ain't no court in law. You won't even go to court. I can promise you that, because they have no science basis to stand on that at all.
But if they did the first shot, should they have done the boosters, or are they cool with stopping right there?
Well, I'm gonna stick what I've always said. My job was not to tell people what to do or not how to do it. My job was to give you the information and you make that decision yourself. Now, if it was to me, I've never got the shot. I ain't gonna never get the shot, period. And that's the reality, and that's the sad thing about it, because people made decisions based off of faulty information. Even when you look at the congressional debates now, what they're doing with the former CDC, she's talking about, well, we didn't know this at the time. We didn't know this, and they're asking her point blank questions, and she looked like an idiot. Period. I'm sorry. You made people do something that you did not have the science behind it. That is why it takes 10 years for you to do a vaccine program. In this particular vaccine, I'm sorry, folks, the reality is that they only tested white folks in the initial part of the project of this Pfizer vaccine in Germany. Everybody was from German, everybody was white, 18 years old and above. Guess what? When you do a vaccine program, these are the most healthiest people on the planet. They're special forces guys. Wow. They got % body fat. They don't have multiple sclerosis. They're not pregnant. They had nothing but white folks. And in their own article, they said they're going to have to go and do the experiment on the blacks, people in wheelchairs, pediatric babies, people that are immunocompromised, heart. They did none of that stuff. And so how can you? So that's why it takes 10 years when you do a vaccine program. You get 10,000 people that have diabetes and you inject them, you find out what happens. You get 10,000 people that are pregnant in their first trimester and you inject them and see if the baby comes out missing the head. That's why you take 10,000 people that have sickle cell and you inject them and find out, did they go on sickle cell crisis? They did none of that, period. Unbelievable.
They use fear mongering to get people down there to, take those shots. It was a lot of fear mongering, on the news. People like Roland Martin, because, Roland Martin does have a large audience. Most of them are older too. Most of his audience are a lot of older people who are maybe not as free thinking as others, who don't take the time to research and allow fear, to push them to those clinics to get those shots. Well, now, is there a way to detox from it?
No, there's no way to detox it. Once and that's what I told people before it was in, you go look at my programs, all the different forms I did before. I told you guys what was going to happen before there was a vaccine. It wasn't going to work, period. I'm sorry, it's not ours. That's why I think you guys are on the Sloppy Joe booster vaccine now. Is it Megatron, Deltatron? What are you on? Lego? I don't know where. Somewhere down the road, but the reality is that it's sad, and sorry that, but Roland Martin doesn't speak for all Black Americans, period. None of them guys do, and for some reason people think that these guys speak for all of us. They do not speak for me, and I'm pretty sure you two are very educated, free-thinking people. I'm pretty sure Roland Martin doesn't think for you.
Not at all.
when people that Roland Martin is supposed to be speaking for Black America, I don't know what world he's living in. He don't speak for me. He never took none of my exams. I don't know about you guys. Maybe he paying your bills, but he ain't paying my bills. And that's where the Black people, a lot of people make the mistake that they think that one Black person speak for us as a party. And man, we're completely different. Period. We have different backgrounds and different lives.
Right. So I want to pivot just a little bit. I saw in one of the articles about you that you were partnered up with an essential oil company.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What was your role with that company? You know, how did your expertise go together with that?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I've had the opportunity, at my age, and when you look at my CV, it's pretty diverse. I mean, I've worked with shamans. I've done research. And the reason why I'm who I am, and I've said this on NPR and different programs, I had a white teacher when I was 6 years old tell me I was retarded. And from that moment there, I've always had this post-traumatic syndrome. You know, I'm in ninth grade. Teacher asked me, I want to be a doctor. The teacher tells me I don't have the aptitude. What Black kid at 16? I don't know what the word aptitude means.
Right.
At the end of the day, I've had these historical markers in my life where people told me what I could not do. And so I went and did everything. I got every damn degree you can get on the planet. I teach it. So who's going to tell me what to do about surgery? Who's going to tell me about infectious? I'm sorry, I will spit in your face. It ain't going to happen. You don't have the qualification to do that. And that is why I have all these experiences. So when I went to the jungles, I want to find out, I went and work with the shamans, the witch doctors. What are you guys using in the jungles to treat this particular diseases and stuff? Well, we take this leaf from the tree, and when we got dermatitis, and we rub it. Well, I got parasitic worms in my stomach. We drink the sap from this tree, and the worms go away. So I've worked with that stuff. So in the reality, when we look at medicine, tropical medicine versus traditional medicine, what came first? It was a tropical medicine. Hey, Indians, what are y'all using for your headaches? This is the aspirin, and Bayer makes it. Aspirin makes $1 billion a year. Hey, what are you native people in the jungles using to fight malaria? Well, we drink the tea from this bark of the tree. Natural medicine has always been the forefront, and we've just taken it and modified. So I had the opportunity to work with shamans that have passed this stuff down for hundreds and hundreds of years on understanding that. And I've taken some of these plants, taken them back to the laboratory, and I've seen what essential oils can do from cinnamon aldehyde, from citrus that inhibits Pseudomonas and bacteria. It is amazing. I've taken in the laboratory, folks, I'm published. I've taken Lysol, Pine Sol, essential oil from a plant, and guess what? Guess one worked, and guess one didn't work.
The plant.
Wow.
Pine Sol does not work, folks. Lysol does not work in killing your germs in your toilet. I've done the test. My essential oil eradicated it. Proof, paper of the year. So I believe essential oils as another mechanism of helping our society.
And what was the name of that company? I didn't write it down.
Say again?
What was the name of that company?
Grow Out Oils.
Grow Out Oils.
And so I've seen for me, when it comes to essential oils, they're probably better than Lysol or Clorox in your toilet because they're natural. Because one of the things we have to understand is that when I was talking initially on understanding the world of biosafety protocols, is that you cannot continue to use Clorox in your toilet. You're gonna get cancer. You're gonna breathe it in, versus using the essential stuff sometimes, the natural stuff, to get that eradication and stuff. And so Grow Out Oils is just one company I work with, but I've done the research in Utah at Weber State University. You can look at the articles, and it's absolutely mind-boggling when you look into a petri dish, and we have an essential oil, cinnamon aldehyde or citrus, and we have all these different bacteria, and they're eradicated. And then we put Lysol or Pine Sol, and then that plate blows up because it doesn't do anything. And that's where people have to become more aware, and that's how essential oils got into as an alternative to help sterilizing your house.
Wow.
Man.
Good to
Very
know.
interesting.
Wow. Very, because I got Pine Sol, I got Fabuloso,
You
I
got it
have
all.
Clorox in here,
You know
all that,
what? You know,
You
black
better,
folks.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, you can take Pine-Sol and Lysol, and you can throw that away. We've already tested it for you folks. I'm sorry. You guys drunk the Kool-Aid. We've done
Wow.
this in science, and that's just the reality. I please show me. I will destroy you because we've already done the science. I'm gonna say we've done it. We published this stuff. So I'm sorry.
Another thing that was interesting when I was researching you, Doc, they said you do limb salvage for diabetes patients and reconstruction surgery for diabetes patients.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I would say I'm very fortunate. I had the military training, and one of my expertise is reconstruction in patients with diabetic infections, and I've done thousands of amputations. I've done thousands of reconstruction, and we just opened up a brand new limb salvage diabetic reconstructive clinic in Peru just a week ago at the biggest hospital in Peru, and I'm the guy running that, saving their people's legs. But at the end of the day, reconstructive salvage is very important in diabetic patients because the reality is that once I do an amputation on you, and this is what I was talking about because I know I've talked about Deion Sanders because he's already had his toes cut off. He's gone through a lot of problems.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he did.
Toes cut off a year ago. He went through another procedure. But the point is that once you have an amputation, 67% of the people that we amputate on, we're cutting off your other leg within 3 years. When you do an amputation, 90% of the people are dead within 5 years of having the amputation. So our goal is for you not to have an amputation. And if you do have an amputation, to make sure it's the most efficient amputation you have. And what we kind of learned from Vietnam, as military trained guys, in Vietnam, we just cut everything off and everybody's dying. Well, what about trying to reconstruct that limb? Maybe taking half a toe, maybe creating a new toe, et cetera, or creating a new foot, salvage it, because then what happens is you give that person, that patient a better life. So one of the things I've been fortunate enough in my career is to do extensive diabetic infection amputations, foot, leg, et cetera. You go to my website, you can see the surgeries I've done, and I've been very blessed to be able to make a difference in diabetic patients' life, and that's how the limb salvage reconstruction came about. And then also the fact that I operate on neonatal babies that are 3 or 4 days old that have congenital defects.
Wow.
Man. And so, a lot of our communities are essentially war zones. And a lot of these hospitals that are in our communities can't really be trusted. So somebody with those type of conditions, they go in there to get treated. And that's the first thing they just do. They'll chop your foot
Let me
off,
cut it off.
leg off.
Well,
What advice do you give people about getting a second opinion or seeing, going through another route?
Well, you should probably get a third or fourth opinion. When I was in Peru last week, I did a conference down there besides seeing all the patients and all the stuff I was doing because I was exhausted. But I am doing a conference on diabetic reconstruction and also on congenital surgery on babies with neonatal defects. And one of the things I told that all the doctors there, I'm a master surgeon, so I went to the master surgeon course at Harvard about 25, 30 years ago and dealing with diabetes. And they had all these white folks up on that panel at Harvard. And I'm at Harvard, and I'm going, wow, I'm at Harvard. I'm at the elite of the elite. And I asked the question, said, why do black people's legs get cut off all the time? And they said, I said, well, isn't the question that maybe you don't relate to them? And guess what all the doctors said? We don't relate to them. So it's easier to cut your leg off and see you, you're gone, versus seeing you with an ulcer coming in every week, twice a week for 2 years, trying to save that limb. These folks don't relate to you. So it's more simpler to cut your leg off, be about than being Big Mama. You're talking about Big Mama and collard greens every week. Big Mama, what you making peach cobbler this week? Versus, and that's the big thing we have in a medicine is that we have such a cultural difference. And when you talk about these hospitals, here even in Little Rock, isn't it amazing that all these big time program hospitals are in black neighborhoods? Why? They get to practice on you. They practice on black folks, and then they go and make their $1 million. And I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. That's why it's so important that we and people like me, what I'm trying to do is to train and get more Black doctors out there. We need more Black scientists and influence these kids, because at the end of the day, folks, if LSU puts out one Black doctor every year for 50 years, how many Black doctors is that?
We have
50 damn doctors.
50. How many fucking 50 Black doctors take care of 4 or 5 million Black folks in Louisiana? It ain't going to happen. And so that's where we need as a people to change our mindset and realize, I'm sorry, there is no such thing as affirmative action, period.
No,
You
not
might,
for us.
but that's not going to take my grade. That's not going to give me my experience. It's not going to make me pass my exam. And that is why we have to take more accountability on that. And people say, oh, who cares about affirmative action? 2 + 2 is 4. You just know it or you don't know it, and you have to apply it. And that's where we have to change our mindset, because we cannot get into this, they owe me something. You don't owe me a damn thing. I'm airborne qualified. I'm pathfinder qualified. I ran through them jungles. I got all my qualification my damn self. Period. Now let's talk about it. And most people are going to get quiet in the room. Period. End of story.
I wanted to ask you a personal question. I have a family member who's in doctor right now, and this family member in their 70s, and their heart rate is like around 62%, between 62 and 65 normally, for the last, I think, 4 years, they said. And so the doctor now suggested a few weeks ago that this family member gets a defibrillator.
Well, I have to look at the medical records, but I would tell you that 63% is, we want to have an ejection fraction of about 75% of the heart. Get that about 75% rate. There is 63%. I would have to look at the medical records, and then making sure the conditions are right. Maybe they have atrial fibrillation or atrial flutter. That's typical in older folks. There's usually medications for that. If the medication doesn't work, then atrial fib, mechanical stimulation is something that you should do. But make sure you have a second and third opinion and stuff, because once you start going down to surgery, it's a whole different ballgame. You can't take it back.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that you guys are on all, or hitting everything right on the button and stuff like that. So always get a second and third opinion, because medicine is great. People have tried to put me into a corner where I'm anti-vax. I don't know who the hell. I'm not. I inject children all day long. I'm the guy that goes to the jungles and delivers the medicine and vaccinates the whole community. But this vaccine I got a problem with. And so I believe in medicine, because medicine has changed our society, has made people live longer. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that people have to have access to all medicine, and not just a selective few people get the best care, i.e. the kidney transplant, the eye transplant. We are always the ones that are giving up, and society's never looked at us as a whole, because we wouldn't be where we're at in 2023.
Right.
And so for the past 3 years, however long it's been so far, we've been dealing with this. We've always been hearing about the big 3 companies: Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson. And I know that you were heading another jab from the Vatican, like you said. Did that ever come to the market? And how come we don't hear much about that?
No, that vaccine never made it, because of the 3 big kept them from getting out. That thing to the United States, because this vaccine was supposed to be is for the world, for the poor people. And at the end of the day, it came down to the politics and them bringing COVAX to the United States. It never happened. And it probably never going to happen. I hope that some private company comes up with a vaccine for coronavirus that I will look at and go, hey, I will give that to my grandchildren. At the end of the day, ain't none of these vaccines are going to my grandchildren's arm. And if you want to ask that question, always ask if these people that run these companies, have you injected your mama with it?
Mm-hmm. They'll lie.
And they're not going there, because at the end of the day, like I was telling my doctors last week in Peru at the conference, when it comes to these patients that we have to amputate their legs off, I said, do you want me to amputate your mama's leg off, or do you want me to save your mama's leg? And guess what you think everybody does?
They want to save it.
They want me to save their mama's leg. So you need to take that same attitude to apply that to every patient, to give these patients the best care that you can. And so once again, this is the way it is, guys. I'm sorry. This is the big money, the big world. Pfizer's, paid more fines and killing people on the planet, period. They just paid like $50 billion a week ago, 2 weeks ago, for fraud. So what does that tell you? And Pfizer's gone to Africa and injected black kids with the meningococcal vaccine, and thousands of black kids have died. And then when the African people wanted to sue them, they wanted to bring the court back to England instead of being in Africa, so they're protected. So it's an absolute joke, guys. That's why we have to be aware, and we got to have 1,000 more Dr. Lane Rollins out there to educate our people.
Family, we are talking to Dr. Rowling today. This is a fire conversation.
It is.
Make sure that you guys are sharing all of that good YouTube stuff. Make sure that you guys engage with the program today. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat as well. We're going to be here for a couple of more minutes with the doc. So type your questions if you have any in the chat. Doc, whatever happened to monkeypox?
Well, monkeypox is still here. I mean, this is the reality. Like I said, I'm the science officer for the Black AIDS Institute, and what I'm seeing now is that monkeypox. I just saw a patient last week with monkeypox. Saw 25 HIV positive males, and what I'm seeing now is that the HIV patients are also not just have monkeypox; they all have syphilis. Period. Comes in triad, all three. And I'm going to write about this. And so what we're seeing now is HIV, monkeypox, and syphilis. And monkeypox is here to stay. And I've said this a year ago. You can look at some of my interviews on TikTok, on some of the programs about monkeypox. Monkeypox is a very stable DNA virus, and it's not going anywhere. And I guarantee you probably 98% of all HIV patients are positive with monkeypox, like they are positive with syphilis. They go hand in hand. And that's why we can look at a patient that's HIV, and you can kind of imagine that they have every disease out there, because one, they're immunocompromised, one, because of the type of lifestyle they're doing, and the reality is that they just have the disease. There's nothing you can talk about. That's why it's so important as we progress more. One of the things I'm trying to do is we need to educate our Black kids more in HIV, because now we're seeing HIV in 13-year-old Black kids. And so when you got 13-year-old Black kids with HIV having sex with that girl at the other elementary school, and they don't know they're HIV positive, they're spreading that disease to everybody. And that's why what we're seeing now is that finally Black men have surpassed white gay men with HIV positive rates in the United States. And guess who's number two behind them is the famous, are very protective, the people that we need to take care of is our Black females are number two, dying from HIV. Babies are coming out with HIV and also with congenital syphilis. Why is that? Because what's happening is that, once again, we're not educating people. You got to realize these Black guys that are coming out of prison, I'm sorry to say that, incarcerated, they're HIV positive in there. They go home to Betty Sue in Dothan, Alabama, and he gets her HIV positive. And that's why it's very important that these guys that are coming out incarcerated all need to be tested for HIV, because once you get HIV, ball game's over. You are infected with HIV the rest of your life. I don't care what medicine you take, you don't eradicate it, because the virus lives in your brain cells. It goes to sleep, but it's always there in the background.
And so I was going to ask you, are some of our LGBT brothers and sisters at a higher risk, or is it about the same?
Higher risk for what?
For the monkeypox, and I
all
of that is related.
Yeah, 95% of all the monkeypox cases that we're probably seeing are in our HIV positive males in that lifestyle, and we see probably about 4 or 5% in children. Why? Because what's happened is that person that's infected with HIV has monkeypox, and they're working in a daycare. These kids are because we know that you can catch monkeypox from breathing air. We know that monkeypox can live on a toilet seat for 30 days. We know monkeypox can live in a wheelchair for 30 days, hospital bed, sheets. And so you can imagine somebody's HIV positive with monkeypox working at a daycare. You guys can Google this. In Detroit, they had a whole daycare infected with kids with monkeypox. So I'm pretty sure these guys not having sex with these babies. So how did they get it? Well, somebody through contact with all these lesions on their hands and face, coughing, touched these babies. So that's very important. And when you're in Atlanta, you need to understand, you go to a restaurant, and these guys got all these lesions on their face and their knuckles. You better get up and walk out that restaurant.
Run out.
Absolutely.
Man. And so we got a question from the chat. Our brother, Mr. Ishmael, wants to know your opinion. Oh, where is it?
Do you believe the MMR vaccine possibly causes autism?
You know, that's a very good question because I know that people have always tried to link the vaccines to autism. And my personal belief is that if an individual baby gets a vaccine that is live, I'm talking there's different types of vaccine. You can have vaccines that are live attenuated that are live. You have killed vaccines. If an individual baby gets a baby or gets that vaccine live, that virus is going to go to the brain and kill the brain cell. And that's why it's very important that we still need to try to make the distinction between live vaccine versus autism versus a non-attenuated or non-live vaccine in that correlation. And somebody's going to do the study on that, on making that link. But I believe the same thing with females that are pregnant. It's very dangerous to give females certain vaccines in their first trimester of birth in the fetus process, the first trimester, which is the first 3 months of a pregnancy. That's when everything's being laid down, the brain, the arm. So you can inject somebody with a vaccine, that virus goes across that placenta, hits that baby, you're going to come out with a baby missing an arm, genetic defects, all that stuff. So we still have to do that research on that. But is it a possibility? Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. You want to take a question from the chat, Nicely?
Dr. Rowling, is there a way to rid the body of lupus? I have an aunt that had lupus or has lupus.
Well, I'm sorry that there's no way. That systemic lupus erythemus is a big-time autoimmune disease that affects the kidneys, the skin, the heart, etc. I've had friends of mine that have died from SLE in college. These ladies were 20, 22, 23 years old that have died from SLE. The most important thing is making sure you stay on top of it, making sure you're taking your steroid medication, making sure you're doing the best you can to maintain that. SLE is one disease that you don't want to miss your medication 2 or 3 days. That's one of these diseases that they're telling you to take your pills every 6 hours. You take your pills every 6 hours because it's very notorious for Black females. And I'm sorry that you can't get rid of the autoimmune disease, but you can treat it and have a very, very efficient life if you follow the rules and have somebody that truly understands SLE and not just some family practice guy. You need to make sure you're seeing a guy that's an expert in that, and that's what they do.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. There's another one in there from Tamisha. She said, can white vinegar kill some viruses?
Probably can. I mean, vinegar it has a certain pH, and that's why vinegar is a good thing. And if we look at the pH or something, the pH of vinegar has the ability to kill bacteria that don't work in that environment. So absolutely. So vinegar is another good source of what I call something natural that can give you some antibacterial, antiviral component to sterilize the stuff.
Oh, wow. Oh, interesting. Wow. I know some people take like apple cider vinegar shots daily.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, people do it, and it helps you out. But at the end of the day, the property of the vinegar is because of the pH.
Got you. You were going to say something nicely?
No.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions for the doc, man. We covered a lot.
We did cover a lot. We did have another question. We know that I believe someone where we saw a video of you or somewhere, I don't remember, but you do support the pneumonia vaccine.
Yeah.
My mother does get that faithfully every year. And so why do you support that over, say, the C19?
I've been seeing this for 3 years from day one. Everybody knows the only vaccine I support in this COVID spectrum is a pneumovax. Why? Because that's what people die from is pneumonia. And it's a vaccine that everybody can get. And because when you look at coronavirus, some of these respiratory diseases, what are you dying from? You're dying from streptococcus pneumonia. Well, guess what, folks? There's a vaccine out there called Pneumovax that you can take. You go down to your pharmacy right now. It's free. CVS Pharmacy, go to Walgreens, Walmart, go get your shot. And guess what? You don't have to worry about pneumonia because that's what kills you. And that's why Pneumovax is a very proven vaccine. We're giving it to neonatals. It has a great track record in saving people's lives. I've taken it twice. And guess what? I've had COVID. I didn't get the pneumonia part. And it protects you. And that's the most important thing, is being prophylactic. So I recommend everybody on the planet, and I've said this 1,000 times, if you go back and look at my interviews, the Pneumovax is a vaccine that I support 100%. Everybody should get it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And then obviously you do have your essential oil. So you also believe in a more holistic approach to medicine versus westernized medicine, if you can.
I think it's a combination of both. I believe the holistic medicine is very, very important. I think all parts of medicine, because you have to have a holistic point of view. You have to have a great attitude. There are things out there that modern medicine still can't prove, and that's why it works and stuff. So having a holistic point of view, understanding vitamins, understanding diet, understanding exercise, understanding things that are not what you call the traditional medicine. Sometimes the holistic approach is some of the best approach. And the most important thing is having that mental attitude to be able to use both situations, both traditional holistic medicine and also tropical medicine also.
Got it. And what are some vitamins that you recommend that all Black people should be on as soon as they can?
Well, the most important vitamin for Black folks is vitamin D. And because we have a vitamin D deficiency, and what I mean by vitamin D deficiency is that when it's wintertime, Blacks don't understand that vitamin D is synthesized through your skin. And if you got no sunlight, you can't synthesize it. And so we have a low vitamin D, so you have to take a vitamin D supplement. That is one vitamin that all Black people should take every day of their natural life. And that vitamin D, you can go to your laboratory, your doctor. I want to get my vitamin D. Well, I know as a veteran, they get Dr. Rowland's vitamin D level. Hey, Dr. Rowland, you need to take vitamin D. I take vitamin D every day anyway. But vitamin D is probably one of the most important vitamins that all Blacks or people of color or skin color should be taking, period. And it works a great benefit to help your immune system to be able to do what it needs to do. Then vitamin C, you can take that. You don't have to take 3,000 milligrams. Just take natural vitamin C. Take a multivitamin every day. It could be Central. Doesn't matter. Making sure you have a good diet, i.e., if you're one of these folks that are really on the run, do like an insured drink in the morning time, an insured drink at lunch, and then have a regular diet. Or maybe you just the reverse of that. Maybe you're on somebody that's on a diet. Well, do an insured diet, because the insured has the protein that we have. In the hospital, what do you think we give patients? Nutrition. We give them insured. We give them glycerin. So for a diabetic patient, we give them glycerin, which is a non-diabetic drink for insured for diabetic patients, which gives you protein. But at the end of the day, mental attitude, change in life, having peace in your life, try to get the stress out of your life. Like I say, get into your mojo. Don't worry about what Johnny's doing over in his house. Worry about what's going on in your house. And do not let anybody sit up here and try to validate you or try to dictate your life. The only person that can dictate your life is yourself. When I tell people the 3 Ds, dedication, determination, and discipline, is what we have in the military. And when I look in the mirror, I see myself. I don't see anybody else. I don't hear about the noise, because the noise, they're not trucking through the jungles with me. And they're damn sure not holding that mama's hand when that baby's died. So you better bring your A game when you're talking to Dr. Rowland. And it's all about the mental part. But the bottom line for all people out here, you prepare yourself in life by doing the work now. You're doing the push-ups today. You work hard. You work very hard, because the push-ups you're doing today is not about today. It's what's going to happen 5 or 10 years from now. I.e., my Navy SEALs guys trained for a mission in Grenada all their lives, and they drowned. They don't even make it to the beach. What happened? Maybe they didn't prepare it well. Dr. Rowland is preparing his whole life to talk about diseases, treat diseases. Well, guess what? I'm on my A game. I've been preparing my whole life, doing these push-ups, and I'm where I'm at because I've done the push-ups, and I'm ready for the moment.
Thank you,
Much
Dr.
respect. Much respect. couple more questions from the chat, and then we're going to wind it down.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So the medication, this is from some chick named Star. The medication that treats SLE cause macular degeneration. Is there a way to avoid that?
Probably not, because that's the point on the medication. My recommendation is that they need to do a big time. The one thing about our society now is that I can tell you something. You can look it up and find out if it's true. So find out more about that medication. Find out what they're using, not just here in America. Find out what they're using in Europe for that particular disease, and find out if there's a different type of drug for that disease that prevents you from having that macular degeneration, and then go get it. Get on a plane, get your passport, go. The world's free. You got to go to England and get your medication, go to England. You got to go to Italy, you make it happen.
All right, and this one is from our brother Breeze Omega. He says, I'm an asthmatic. Would you recommend that I get the Pneumovax?
Absolutely, 100%,
Yes.
because that is one of the biggest problems we see with any type of viral respiratory infection. It could be the influenza, it could be respiratory syncytial RSV, or even coronavirus, that you end up with some type of insult to your lungs. And guess what? At the end of the day, asthmatics end up with with pneumonia too. So this will help you as prophylactically, preventing you from getting one of the biggest complications for people that have pulmonary insult is getting pneumonia. So I highly recommend you get the pneumonia vaccine, 100%. You should have got it yesterday.
There we go. There it
Heard
is.
that, Omega Breeze.
And as we get ready to wind down, let me get your website up here. Let everybody know where they can follow you and talk about your website.
Well, this is to pay the website. This is kind of my history. This is where you can find out information on different diseases. I have lectures on there, everything from polio to syphilis to HIV, influenza, Ebola, case studies on some of the surgical procedures I've done. It talks about some of the research that we do in the world. We've worked on everything from syphilis to tuberculosis. And then if you want to take any educational courses from us, you're more than likely and have the opportunity to come and train with us and learn more about infectious diseases. And we do have trips to the jungle so people can come and see what the jungle looks like in Machu Picchu as a bucket list for people.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Right.
Cool. All right. So how you want to do it nicely? It's not the business showcase, but you can still make it.
Well, again, thank you to everyone that tapped in with us. The chat was lit, so thank you for that, Dr. Rollins. Thank you so much for your expertise and all this information, a ball of information. For those that may have come in late, you can always check the replay, and of course, follow Dr. Rollins on Instagram.
If it don't get taken down.
If it doesn't go, exactly. Hopefully not. I think we were very codified. Make sure you're following the good doctor on Instagram at Dr. Rollins. Of course, check out his website. Is there a way that we can order those essential oils as well on your website, by the way?
Yeah, you can. Just send me an email. We have a website called Biosecurity, tapedabiosecurity.com, tapedabiosecurity.com. And what I'll do is I'll text that to you because it's a long word, but people can air purification units, all types of stuff that we've done to provide some of these things to people that people can get that from us and stuff. And you can always send me an email, say, Doc, my mother's got immunocompromised. I want to get an air purification unit. And we'll get you one of the air purification units that we put in some of the universities that we've done the biosecurity protocols for. I mean, we've had the opportunity to provide some universities 350 air purification units in every dorm, every room on a campus to make sure that environment is. So that's one thing we do too.
Nice. Nice.
And how can people find your Instagram and your Twitter?
You can find me at Dr. Roland at Instagram. Just like you are, both you guys are. Mm-hmm. Every day, it's my Instagram's a little bit different because every day I'm publishing about some type of disease in the world, from malaria to dengue, giving you folks education about what's happening, how to protect yourself. It's an educational thing, and one of the things, like you said, is amazing that I know me and Rizzi Islam did a big time interview, and
shout out to Rizzi.
They blocked it, then they put it back in because I think, what are we saying that's wrong?
Right.
Anything negative on this thing and stuff like that on this particular platform. I don't think we said anything that was controversial. It was just my opinion. Period. You can like it or not.
Just an opinion.
And so, for the YouTube censors out there, again, we're just trying to educate our people as much as possible. We have an expert here. We're not just, over here with the tinfoil kufi on, spitting conspiracy theories. You know what I'm saying? We got somebody who's an expert in the field. I don't even know nobody out there who's talking who has more credentials than this man. So,
right. Not even Fauci.
No. It is. I mean, Fauci's old news. He's yesterday's news, and his time is gone. People moved on from him, and and he better go. The smart thing for Fauci to do is go retired and stay retired, because the many people that have, put it this way, the truth is going to come out. We have to do another interview on that one.
Right.
And so I got to hear your answer to this question. What does freedom and power mean to you, Dr. Rowland?
Freedom and empowerment to me, in my world, I would believe that it meant that the ability to think and to be able to think and execute whatever your dream is, your ideal, without any restrictions and stuff. And that's one of the things that we find out now, is that people want to compare China to America. I don't think we're as free as people think we are. And we can see it happen over the last several years, especially when it comes to, people talking about just the C virus. You gotta be careful what you say, but they can have people on there shaking their booties and doing all that stuff. But that's people getting killed, blown up, bodies. But that's cool. But me talking about science, because I do it every day, is a problem.
Right.
I mean, the reality is an absolute joke.
Yes, indeed. All right, family. I think that about does it for today's episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. This has been one for the books. I got it for the archives, just in case anything.
Right.
And so we have alternative platforms, and so you'll always be able to access this information. And so again, Dr. Rowland, we thank you for being here with us today. We would love to have you back as things progress in the world and we start to see whatever's coming down the pipe. We'd love to have you back to talk more about Black health. And so, again, thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. Very important that you folks, like I've told people before, even Mr. Roland Martin and all these other platforms, you need to do the platform this time to help Black folks out, and not be what I call them. I don't want to use any derogatory terms, but the bottom line is that, make sure you take your platform and do it for good and help people, because that's what it is. That's the problem that we've always had. Black folks have always been in the back of the bus. We've always get the back information instead of our folks that have the platforms. Hey, let's get out this platform. Let's go ahead and save Big Mama's life this time. Big Mama, if you're going to Big Mama, you're going to go get this medication. Big Mama, you need to know what that medication is. Don't worry about that Subway sandwich and that barbecue chips. You know about your health.
Butter biscuits.
At the end of the day, it's all about our health, and we have to have the right information, and it has to be from people that look like us. Period.
Right.
At the end of the day.
They look like us. They know us. That's from the culture. You're right. Because you understand the culture, because you're a part of the culture. So we need that, and we just need Black folks that are not like Roland Martin that sell us out for butter biscuits. So thank you.
Well, I can tell you what,
Roland.
I'm gonna get me some peach cobbler later and some collard greens. Different
Right.
Collard greens and spinach. I know.
Right.
My brother. And so, man, again, thank you, man. Much continued success to you. Thank you guys who are tuning in with us live. Thank you guys, whoever's watching this on the replay. Again, like, share, subscribe, leave us some comments, all of that good stuff. Make sure you're following the doctor. Make sure that you guys are following us. I'm at Sincere Love the God on all social media platforms. Follow Nicety Girl. She's at Nicety Girl with the #1 on Instagram and without the #1 on Twitter. And so as we close out, I got if you haven't already listened to me and DJ RP Beats album, The Master's Table, make sure you go check that out. It's available on all streaming platforms. DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love the God, The Master's Table, or you could order your physical copies and your merch and all of that good stuff at the mastersrsvp.com. And so one of the songs that we have on there is called The Plandemic. And so as we close out, it's only right that I play the song.
Right. Let's go.
It's only right that I play the song as we close this one out. And so remember, family, we are not the master teachers. We are only the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. And with that being said, that does it for today's program. Peace and Black love.
You guys
Pandemic.
take care. I hope you guys put me in one of these songs too. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Hold on, I gotta skip this commercial. Before I let it play.
Yes, we gotta hear the song.
Yeah, we gotta shout out the good doctor in the next pandemic.
Yeah, the remix. The remix.
Get past this commercial and then I'll put it back on the screen for y'all. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, peace, family.
mRNA vaccines are a powerful way to protect our bodies against infectious diseases.
We gotta talk about this, John.
Here's the latest story that
Right here. Who shot you? The nurse or the doctor? That needle in your arm was a wicked concoction. Moderna or Pfizer? Remember what I heard from Elijah. It's written in your scripture that the devil's a liar. Something to think about when you're watching the news. All of a sudden you're fearful and you're kind of confused. If Alan Dershowitz isn't a silent murderer, then why he won't debate reason Islam? This ain't the worst of it. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Let me remind you, who's really calling the shots in Wuhan, China? That paper mask make you feel protected. You scared to visit your parents and now they feel neglected. You blame Trump, but that was Biden and you still rejected. Or should I give you the science on how they steal elections? I digress, but here's something to digest. These white supremacists dying off, quiet as kept. I digress, but here's something to digest. These white supremacists dying off. Plandemic. Plandemic. Freedom to choose, freedom to rules. The question we all gotta ask, what is freedom to you? From me to you, it's the freedom to move. But freedom ain't free. What's the value of freedom to you? Freedom to choose, freedom to rules. The question we all gotta ask, what is freedom to you? From me to you, it's the freedom to move. But freedom ain't free. What's the value of freedom to you? Ivermectin prevent high infection. Then you really got that 10-4 kufi on. So Spotify, they might reject them. From my perspective, there's some kind of weapon. And that Tuskegee experiment ain't the only thing that I could reference. There's Henrietta Lacks and plenty other facts. The dark history of medical experimentation on blacks. Now what if natural immunity could truly be the best line of defense? And that's what I choose to believe. You disagree, well that isn't of any consequence. You should have the right to choose if you truly was free. To keep the job, you gotta take the jab. And you can't sue the vaccine manufacturer, who will take the rap? In the event I have an adverse reaction, I'm feeling like Kyrie Irving. What's the worst that can happen? I know the price, I know the value too. Your whole economy is based on the energy that I could produce. And nothing in this world can stop the truth. A pestilence from heaven, I heard the word in the garden of fruit. So why you think they deplatformed the minister? A lot of y'all is missing the backbone. Rizzo, what up? We need more like you that read more like you. But either this plot is plain to see, or we all psychic. Freedom to choose, freedom to rules. The question we all gotta ask, what is freedom to you? From me to you, it's the freedom to move. But freedom ain't free. What's the value of freedom to you? Freedom to choose, freedom to rules. The question we all gotta ask, what is freedom to you? From me to you, it's the freedom to move. But freedom ain't free. What's the value of freedom to you?